Well, hello there. Welcome to the Extended Gamut Special Edition podcast.
Oh, yeah?
We've got a treat for the viewers. Today, Bob Miller, manager of color services at IT Supplies, has taken over the podcast, and he sits down with Max Derhak from ONYX, one of the longest standing employees and the principal color specialist of ONYX. So they have a great discussion covering
a number of things. Kind of a get to know, who is Max. He's seen a lot at ONYX, so the evolution of ONYX as a company over the years and as a software. Some of the specific projects he's worked on, ICC Max, and then some of the open architecture that they've recently allowed access to for APIs.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe it'll be so good that it'll be the Bob and Max show from here on out.
You never know, but we hope you will enjoy this special edition interview with Bob Miller and Max Derhak.
All right, I'd like to thank Jeff and Andy for sharing this awesome stage with us today. Color management is always at the forefront of printing. Fortunately for us, most of the math and color and appearance takes place behind the scenes. Today, I'm joined by one of those influencers who has been instrumental in enhancing ONYX and their overall color workflow. Let me introduce Max Derhak, Principal Color Scientist here for ONYX.
Thank you.
Welcome, Max.
Thank you.
Let's start off by getting to know a little bit about you. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your background and how this all came to be.
Well, I've been with ONYX Graphics for 33 years.
That's a long time.
I'm the senior most person at ONYX at this point in time. And, we've gone from everywhere from back in the day, working on DOS machines with electrostatic plotters and lots of different evolutions to the case. In fact, ONYX started off printing on die-sub. We had this little business where we were printing on canvas for photographers, and it was a die-sub process. The inks were absolutely horrible.
Oh, I can imagine.
It was only just a basic approximation, but the painters would use it, and then they'd paint on top of the image that was printed there, so that they could actually do their artistry. That's how it actually started, and we've evolved in terms of how we do our color and stuff like that. Got heavily involved in ICC.
I think you're fairly well known for being involved in ICC.
Yes, I am involved in the ICC.
You've won a few awards, Macbeth Award and stuff.
Yes, I have. I've got awards. Along the way, I also I started off with a bachelor's in computer science, and when I started on with ONYX, and later got a master's in imaging science from Rochester Institute of Technology, and a PhD as well in color science. So I'm, there's the science aspect to it. Then also I've been involved with the ICC folks in terms of just standards and.
You're in the weeds.
I'm in the weeds. Interesting for the science, the academic people. I'm too industrial, and for the industrial people, I'm too academic. So
I love that. Yeah. Well, you think about it. Most people are just picking up the software, ONYX, and using it, and they're using a lot of the stuff that's built in. Manufacturers provide profiles or whatever. Mm-hmm. But behind the scenes, there's all this crazy stuff that's happening, and it's this black box, and people are like, okay, well,
it's a real challenge trying to make something that's really complex easy for somebody to use, and that's all
exactly
a big challenge to it. And in many cases, in order to get the best results, you really have to get into the weeds to do things. And most people don't want to do that, but they expect to get the best results. So you gotta manage people's expectations in terms of what the results are going to end up being. So,
and I think, and we've already said, you're one of the great partners that we work with, and the simple fact is that one of the reasons that you're well known and your ONYX is well known in the industry, and that you're such a great partner, is because you have this ability. ONYX has this ability to be simplified but then also to have more depth to it. So when you want to go deeper, if you have more color knowledge, if you want to get into the weeds a little bit more, you have that ability. But a lot of people don't want to do that. But if they do, if they are challenged by somebody who is doing, adhesive vinyl car wraps, and they have to hit certain colors or whatever, the tools are in there. They're embedded in there. I mean, most people might not see them, but they're there.
That's what key. And also it's really an interesting challenge to make it so that the ease of use is not necessarily overwhelmed by, you don't want to put people into a jet cockpit, and have to have all these things. You want to have something where they push the green button and then they can pull the thing back and then get to the controls. So that's the important thing of it.
Exactly. Well, ONYX is one of the most popular RIPs when it comes to sign and print technology. We know that, especially in the US, right? So what do you think separates ONYX from the competition?
We have we got great depth to us. I mean, that we've been around from the very beginning. We've seen all of the technology changes, and we have incredible relationships with all the various partners and stuff like that. I mean, it's just really that when your Epsons or your HPs or whoever come to us and they have a challenge where they have this new technology they're doing, we partner with them from the very beginning of them and help them actually in the process of actually developing their device in addition to developing our software. So it's really important to actually have those relationships, and I think that's what really makes us stand out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw one other little thing out there, and it's not so much in your area, but some of the RIP companies, it can be a real challenge. So if somebody's struggling, like there's a bug or something's going on, you're trying to get a hold of technical support. Time is money. So, you're down, you're losing money. So one thing I will say about ONYX, we pick up that phone and we make a phone call and somebody's on the other end answering our questions. And I got to say that really stands out because there are too many companies out there that don't have that ability. I know that's not so much your area, but I will just point that out to people that are watching and listening, that I really think that is definitely something that you guys bring to the table. And the fact that you listen, you're here today because you sought advice from us. We have a two-way street here. You came into our office today to learn from us what we're encountering out in the industry. And at the same time, we're learning from you tools and things, features and things that maybe we haven't accessed fully yet. And so, I mean, the fact that ONYX listens is another key component, I think, to that.
Yeah, and actually, in the last year or so, we've also been trying to improve our processes in terms of how we do things so that internally we are now, support is actually directly interfacing with engineering, and we're actually keeping track of the things that are brought in to make sure that we actually get back to people as soon as possible.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So, the software, the ONYX software has really evolved over the last few years. Perhaps you could take a moment to talk about color check and other features that really stand out to you.
Well, color check is one of those personal things that I really, really feel passionate about because we have people using our software, and how do they know that they're actually getting the right results? And the real key is that we, in developing the color check, we wanted to do something that wasn't profiling. So, the whole idea was we wanted to make it so that the person who was actually doing the printing had tools that were specific to them that weren't necessarily the kind of tools you would have if you were a profiling person,
Right.
And so the color check was meant to be, part of the actual inside of the RIP queue. You print in the RIP queue, you measure in the RIP queue. You don't go to a separate application to do stuff. And trying to make it as, this is where you get the green button versus the cockpit kind of mentality there. And making it so that, it's very simple for people to do a color check baseline and then see how they're printing and have the software actually tell you when when's the last time you did it, and what are you printing based upon that? I really like to see more people using it. I mean, I know that when we first developed the tool, it was really, really quite interesting. We were printing on a printer, and we measured it, and then it came up and it told us there was a problem, and we didn't realize there was actually even a problem there. You know, that the inks had been drifted. We were working on a prototype printer, and we had to shake the inks and to actually get it so that it would print correctly. And when we looked at it, we didn't actually necessarily see the problem, but there was actually a drift there.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, color check. I mean, that's exactly what it's doing, and it's going to give you information about the performance of your hardware and your workflow, so that you can decide, okay, this is good, or I need to do something.
Yes, and it's a great tool. It's wonderful, and in the future we want to make it so that we actually have more reporting and tracking and stuff like that. Tying that into what we're doing with Align and the APIs that we actually are introducing for people to be able to actually, write web stores and stuff like that automatically bring things in and do stuff.
Yeah. I know you were instrumental in the creation of ICC Max. Can you tell us a little bit more about the thought process behind this?
Well, I guess the real point there is that with ICC color management, as it came out of the 90s, very good. It works really well, but it also has limitations. It's really engineered for printing on flat surfaces. It's really engineered for D50 lighting and stuff like that. But it doesn't take into account any of the real complexities of color. And so with ICC Max, the idea is that there's a lot of things about color that really it doesn't touch. So being able to handle the spectral characteristics of color, or the variation of observers, or being able to account for gloss or things like that, or different viewing angles of a monitor and how the color changes. All of those things kind of factor in. An additional aspect of it is that ICC, it's very limited in how you can represent color transforms. There's basically a big lookup table. And, if you get more than 4 or 5 inks, then you start getting to the point where you can't put enough information in that the profile gets really, really large. And so being able to put in algorithms inside of a profile as opposed to just numbers that you look up and interpolate is a huge advantage that ICC Max potentially has.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, again, we talk about, the common user probably won't be utilizing that, but as you get into, the workflows and you check the box to include ICC Max and you go through the process of incorporating that, you're right. I mean, it does definitely help along the way.
Well, there's other areas too that ICC Max can come into play, and actually it's coming into play even right now. I mean, with the advent of digital cameras that are actually able to take high dynamic range images, ICC doesn't really work well with high dynamic range images. Mm-hmm. So you need to actually have a PCS that gives you the greater dynamic range, and then color management figures out how to deal with that. And so that's another area where we're looking at ICC Max.
Interesting. I had no idea. So Printing United is just around the corner. Is there anything upcoming that you are excited about? I know ONYX has recently opened up their architecture, and there's more API access, etc. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about that, or anything else that comes to your mind.
Well, in Printing United, we're going to be demonstrating our 22.5 release. Along with that would be the ability to archive jobs and bring them back. And actually, the archive tool can potentially allow you to archive your jobs into a central server and bring them back and transfer them from one computer to another computer. So that's a really nice thing that we have there. And then with the Align product, I mean, really the idea of being able to do shop management, as well as to be able to actually have an interface that allows you to use web APIs to actually bring jobs in. So if you're actually creating a web store, you can then bring it in and actually send it into the system and track everything all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, that open API architecture is really becoming key in, these lights off print room concepts. I mean, people want to be able to, whether they're using InFocus Switch or whatever, or Pit Stop, and they want to be able to have these pre-flights and the ability to integrate within other software, and you guys are opening it up so that can be easier.
Yep.
So I think that's huge. So I think that's all we have time for today, but boy, I'd love to go a lot deeper. But Max, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today.
My pleasure.
This has been great. So I hope our viewers will take a little bit of time to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. When it comes to printing and color management, and especially ONYX, please know that IT Supplies is here to help your business succeed. Thanks so much for joining us.